The Michigan Wolverines, in my opinion, is one of the top and wild card teams in college football. Now, what I mean by that is I think that they could go 11-1. I think that they have that potential to be a powerhouse this year and just crash every single conversation in the college football universe, but they also could go 7-5 again, in my opinion, and have the same exact struggles as they did last season. With that being said, buckle up because this video dives deep into the Michigan Wolverines. We'll be talking about my positional grades for this team and my official season prediction for the Wolverines. So buckle up. It's going to be a great video, and I hope you enjoy. So I want to start off this video here by talking about the players that will make or break this team here for Michigan. I have my key returning players, top impact transfers, and immediate impact freshmen, as you can see on your screen, whatever device you are listening or watching on. So let's go ahead and start off with the key returning players I have in no particular order: Derek Moore, Rod Moore, and Ernest Hausman. Now let's start off talking about Derek Moore here. I was very close to putting Jayshon Barham right here as well. They're both kind of an identical player to me as well, two guys that will be coming off of the edge, but I went with Derek Moore here. Over the past 2 years, in 23 and 24, he has a combined 9 sacks, 2 fumble recoveries, 4 passes defended, and lots of tackles as well. So he's been a consistent player for this team, and he will have a much more predominant role as he will, as long as he stays healthy, start every game as he is one of the top defensive players on this team. Now, Rod Moore, he comes back from injury. Rod Moore did not play any of last year as he got hurt during the summer. He's back now, and he was one of the top players on that 2023 Michigan National Championship team. He had 2 interceptions, loads of tackles, 3 passes defended. He was just a guy who they could really rely on, and actually his best year was in 2022, where he had 71 total tackles, a half of a sack, and 4 interceptions. So he does bring a ton of experience and star power to that secondary, but can he stay healthy is the big question. I think he can. And the last person here is a guy who I think will really break out, and a lot of people think that as well, Ernest Hausman, the linebacker. Last year, he took on more of a predominant role in the defense and had 89 total tackles and 2 sacks plus an interception. Pretty good numbers for a guy who didn't start all the time. Yes, he played in all the games, but he was a guy who was on limited snap count, all that type of stuff. So this year, I think he will play every single snap as long as he's healthy, and I think that he will just explode onto the scene this year. Let's talk about the impact freshmen. I have obviously Bryce Underwood here at quarterback. I also have Andrew Marsh at wide receiver and Shamari Earls at corner. Could have gone with a couple different people here, but I stuck with these 3 for these reasons. Bryce Underwood, obviously, he's the number 1 player in the class, flipped from LSU to Michigan in the waning seconds before signing day. And obviously, he's going to be a guy who, if he's healthy, he should be starting for them. We're going to get into their quarterback situation here in a minute with my roster grades, but I think that Bryce Underwood will eventually start for them. It may take a game or 2, but he will start, and he will play pretty well, in my opinion. Andrew Babaloa was the other 5-star that they got in this past cycle, but I don't think that he'll start quite yet, so he is not a guy who's going to be a top impact guy yet. Shamari Earls is a top 10 corner, top 100 player nationally. He is 6'2", 180. He's one of the best players that they got in this cycle, number 1 player in the state of Virginia, where I hail from. So I think that he will be a very important person to this secondary, not so much because he'll start, but he will play a lot of meaningful downs for them. Then Andrew Marsh, they need as much help as they can get at wide receiver. Let's just say that. And he is a top 15 player at his position. He is a top 100 player nationally. He's 6'1", 175. He's got great speed, great athleticism, and he should be playing lots of meaningful downs very early for them. Now, my top impact transfers. Number 1, Justice Haynes, coming in from Alabama. He was The RB2 for Bama last year, really 1A, 1B with Jam Miller, and he had just under 450 yards. He had 448 yards, 7 touchdowns, and had 17 receptions for 99 yards. So he is kind of a do-it-all back, and I think he'll pair really well with Jordan Marshall as well. And he was a very highly rated guy out of the portal. Then you have Donovan McCulley, who missed all of last year for Indiana. He comes in as a 3-star wide receiver, and again, they need all the help they can at wide receiver. He is expected to be a starting wide receiver for them, so he will be making a heck of an impact for them. And then Damon Payne, the defensive end, could have gone with Trey Williams as well, as they got two guys who will really beef up this defensive line, and I think that they will both succeed pretty well here at Michigan. So now let's talk about my positional roster grades here. We'll start with the offense, then work our way to the defense. As you can see, at quarterback, I have a question mark, but a B if I were to give it a grade. Running back, B+. Wide receiver, tight ends, the receivers, C-. Offensive line, a B, and coaching, B-. So not the best grades here, but let's walk through it here for them. At quarterback, I don't want to give them a grade because it's too much of an unknown here for me, because we don't know if Bryce Underwood is going to start. They have Mikey Keene, but Mikey Keene was injured in the spring, so Underwood took most of the first team snaps. But then they brought in Jamie Garcia, who has bounced around a lot, a 3-star guy out of the portal as well, similar to Mikey Keene in the way he plays. So why would they bring in that guy if they did not think that Bryce Underwood was going to start? It doesn't make sense to me why they would bring in Garcia if they don't see Bryce Underwood as starting, if that makes sense to you guys. We already talked about Bryce Underwood in the previous segment, so I'm not going to talk about this room any further because I don't even know if we know who's going to be the starter yet. Now, I think Bryce Underwood will eventually start this season, will eventually start at some point this season, but I can't say for sure that it'll be within the first 3 or 4 weeks. Moving on to the running back room, I gave it a B+. I'm very high on this running back room. I even toyed with it being an A-, even an A, because I think it's incredibly good. I secretly love this running back room, very underrated. And so, like we said, they brought in Justice Haynes, and they also have Jordan Marshall. They're two running backs that complement each other really well, in my opinion. I really liked how Haynes played at Alabama, and I also really liked how Marshall played against Bama in the bowl game as well, and the couple plays that he got throughout the year, especially against Ohio State as well. He showed a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, so I really like this running back room. So I have the receivers graded as a C-, and let's talk about it. Their wide receiver 1 most likely will be Donovan McCulley. Now, he transfers in from Indiana, 3-star in the portal, and how can they expect him to be a wide receiver 1 when he was injured all of last season? I just don't think he's going to put up production like a wide receiver 1 will, or really should at Michigan, because first of all, I didn't see him as that good of a player in the first place, and he's coming off of an injury. And you hate to see it, but I just don't think that he's going to be a wide receiver 1 type of impact player. Now, is he going to get all the receptions in the world? Absolutely. But I don't think that really justifies people saying that he's going to be this just insane guy and really lead this receiver room. I just don't think that he's that caliber of guy quite yet. Hopefully he proves me wrong. Now, Andrew Marsh, I consider him to be slotting in right at that wide receiver 2 part. And like I said, I really like the kid. I really liked him. He's one of my top 3 impact freshmen for this squad. But I think that he's one of those guys that's, a bit of an unknown. You're going from college to one of the biggest stages in college football, that being Michigan in that upper echelon of teams in college football. So I don't know if we can really expect him to go out and just ball like Jeremiah Smith did. Hate to bring him up in a Michigan video, but I just don't know what type of impact he's really going to play with this team. He's going to make an impact. I just don't know how great that impact will be. And the last guy I really want to mention here is Marlon Klein, who was the backup tight end to Richard Loveland. Colston Loveland, sorry about that, not Richard, Colston, my bad. But I do think that overall we have a downgrade at tight end, and I think a lot of people would tell you that. I still think that Marlon Klein will be able to put in some meaningful catches, meaningful blocks, all that type of stuff. He's a Michigan tight end after all. But I see a downgrade there. He'll play a big role in the receiving game as well. And I just really don't see this receiver room as more than a C minus. Now, the offensive line, big question mark for me. Big question mark for me is the offensive line. I set it at a B, so a little bit more on the positive end here. But you have some guys who can really excel, like Giovanni El Hadi at the guard position, Andrew Sprague at the tackle position, Evan Link, another tackle. I think those type of guys can really play well. But again, I just don't know enough. Maybe it's me. Maybe I don't know enough about this offensive line to really know. So let me know down in the comments how you guys think that this offensive line will play, and I'll adjust accordingly. But I just don't. I just don't know. I think there's a lot of unknown on this offensive line. Again, all of them are coming back, so all of them were on the team last year, which is great. But I just don't think that it's as powerful as the Joe Moore award-winning offensive lines of the past for Michigan. The coaching here, I gave a B minus two, and I don't think we can go any higher as of right now. They hired a new offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey from North Carolina, who ran an air raid offense there, and he's coming in going to expected to maintain a Michigan offense that has historically been a run first offense. So I don't know how they're going to reconcile that. I don't think they have the receivers to really air the ball out that much either, like we just discussed, and the quarterback situation being a mess as well. I think that he'll have to stick with the run game, and I don't know if that's really in his DNA or not. We will find out. Again, he's a year one coordinator, so I don't think I can go any higher than a B minus. Onward to the defense here, and let's talk about the defense. First, I'm really going to talk about the coaching here, so get that out of the way first. Coaching, I have it as a B plus. Different opinions on Wake Martindale through the first 2/3 of the season. Really, he wasn't very good, and the defense wasn't very good at all. Did not look like the 22 and 23 versions of that defense, but I like him because of what he did in the latter half of the season, especially against Ohio State and Alabama. Everyone points to those two games. I get it, but you really have to look at those games and see how the defense played. They looked like the 23 and 22 versions of that defense. They really looked good against Ohio State, throttled Alabama, and I think that they can carry that over to this upcoming year. Now, the defensive line I have as an A minus, and I think that defensive line it's reloaded and will be really good again. Will it be the same on the interior? Absolutely not. But I think that they got two guys in the portal who will really help them on that interior, with Trey Williams coming in from Clemson, and then Damon Payne coming in from Alabama. I think those two guys will really clog up the interior of that defensive line, and I think it will play really well. Now, at the defensive end positions, you got Derek Moore and Rayshawn Benny, two guys who I really think will stand out and play well, especially Derek Moore, who I said previously. And then you go to the linebackers, and I just really like this front seven. This front seven is really good for Michigan. A minus for the linebackers as well, really because I really like what they bring to the table in Ernest Hausmann. Ernest Hausmann's a guy who I think could be one of the top linebacker options in this upcoming year's draft, in my opinion. Right now, I have him slotted as like a second round type of pick. The way he's been playing and the way he's been progressing, I think that he will definitely be there by the end of the season. Probably triple digit total tackles, in my opinion. Probably 4 or 5 sacks and a couple interceptions to boot as well. And then Jayshon Barham, the other linebacker, and then TJ Guy, the other linebacker there as well, to round out that front seven there. All those guys are solid. I don't think there's a weak point on that defensive line or the linebackers. Now, you can say that they're not as star-powered as they were before, but there is no weakness. You're only as strong as your weakest link, and the weakest link there is no really a weak link here, in my opinion. So I really like this front seven here. So next we have the cornerback room as we get into the secondary here, and the corners are my reason for concern on this defense for me, as they have some established players. Zeke Berry, who plays at the slot corner, very established players, played with them for multiple years, started for multiple years. So I think that he's a very good player, but I don't think they have the depth that they usually do. Jair Hill going to be that main corner. Caleb Anderson, the transfer, is going to be another guy who they rely on. Then Shamari Earls, like I said, but the dangers of relying on a true freshman at that to really get what you want out of that position is a dangerous game. So I do think that they don't have the depth as usual, but they have some pretty good players. So I do have it as a B. Then to round out this segment here, before we get into the schedule prediction, let's talk about the safeties. I have an A grade for the Michigan safety room here, And two reasons why: TJ Metcalf and Rod Moore. Let's talk about them both. Rod Moore, we already talked about a lot. He's going to be their free safety, and he's going to play phenomenal for them. He played phenomenal for them on that national championship team, on the 2022 team, and beyond. So he has tons of experience coming off of that injury, though a little bit of a concern, which is why this room isn't an A plus, but still a heck of a player. Then they bring in TJ Metcalf, the transfer over from Arkansas, him and his brother Tevis Metcalf, who's lower on the depth chart. But TJ Metcalf is the guy who played really well in the box. He's a great strong safety, plays the run well, and I just really do like this safety room. So with that being said, these are my official roster grades here for Michigan, and let's get into the schedule. So here's the schedule for Michigan this upcoming season. As you can see, I do not have every single game here predicted yet, because we will be taking those games one at a time in just a minute here. But games that I think are assured wins: New Mexico and Central Michigan at home, easy dubs. And then Wisconsin, you get them at home. I think that'll be a win, probably about by 10 points. You travel to Michigan State. I think this is a great matchup for Michigan over Michigan State, so I have them taking home the W there. Purdue is going to be an easy win at Northwestern, very easy win. There's no home environment there, not much of a home environment at Maryland either, so I think that'll be a win as well. So right off the bat here, you have 7 wins for Michigan, and let's go ahead and look at the rest of their schedule and go through that game by game. Okay, so as you can see here, I have Michigan going 9-3. That would be 7-2 in conference, 4th in the Big Ten. I think that they will struggle very early on. I think that they'll go 2-2 to start the season at Oklahoma. What a really hostile environment there, and at Nebraska as well, very hostile environment. I do not think that they match up well against Nebraska in particular, but Oklahoma as well. I think Oklahoma's got a lot of firepower on that team. But if I were to see Michigan really win one of these games, it would be at Oklahoma, in my opinion. I just think Nebraska does not match up well with Michigan does not match up well with Nebraska, not the other way around. I think Nebraska matches up really well with Michigan in the way they're going to be running their offense and, frankly, their defense as well. And we don't know who the quarterback's going to be. If it's Mikey Keene through the first 4 games of the season, they will go 2-2, possibly, 2-2. I don't think they're going to lose that versus New Mexico and Central Michigan. They won't lose those games, but they'll be 2-2. If they start Mikey Keene, if they start Jamie Garcia, they will be 2-2. If they start Bryce Underwood, they have a chance to be 3-1. But I just don't think that they will come out of this 4-game stretch unscathed at all. Then they get that bye week. They get to settle down. They beat Wisconsin, and I think they lose at USC. I think USC is going to be a very good team this year. I have them along a similar track to Michigan. And then I think they really establish that Bryce Underwood will be the starter going forward, if he hasn't been already. And I think that he will close out the final 6 games all winning all of these games. Really, I think he will beat Washington at home. I don't think Washington is as scary a team as people think. I think that's going to be more Nebraska, but that's for a later preview video. I think that, like I said, beat Michigan State, beat Purdue, come off that bye, beat Northwestern, beat Maryland. You're coming off of 5 straight wins, and they beat Ohio State. Ohio State has yet to prove to me that they can beat Michigan. I've predicted Ohio State to beat Michigan twice in the last 4 years, and they have failed me both those times. So I really cannot be trusting Ohio State to beat Michigan anytime soon, especially after last year, where Michigan was not a very good football team, and they were able to beat Ohio State in the shoe, and that Ohio State team won the national championship. This year, Ohio State is worse, Michigan is better, and the game is in Ann Arbor. So you really expect me to pick Ohio State? Nah, I am picking Michigan to win the game, possibly by double-digit points. So that really ends the video for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you haven't already, subscribed to the channel. If you're a Wolverines fan, if you're just a college football fan watching this video, I have a ton of preview videos like this one, structured exactly like it, coming out very soon. I'm hoping to get one out every other day so that the content continues to roll here on the channel. Again, small channel, but we're really trying to build here, and we have been building. If you want to take a look at any of my other videos, go ahead and do that. And that's it for me, and I will be seeing you guys in the next one.